The massive eruption of an underwater volcano in the Pacific has seen Tonga's capital flooded by a tsunami and covered in ash. No deaths have been reported yet, but the situation in low-lying areas and outer islands is still unknown. International phone and internet connections have been disrupted, making communication difficult. Australia and New Zealand are preparing to send their defence forces to help. Here's political reporter Melissa Clark.
Yesterday evening, the tonga-hunga Ha'apai volcano exploded. It's just 70 kilometres north of Tonga's capital, Nuku'alofa. The eruption was so powerful it sent ash up to 15 kilometres into the air, with shockwaves heard in Fiji. It caused a tsunami that has flooded the northern side of Tonga's main island, Tongatapu, including Nuku'alofa. As night fell, volcanic ash rained down and residents raced inland. The volcano has been active since November, with eruptions in December, but the massive underwater explosion had not been anticipated.
There hasn't been an event from a volcanic eruption and such an explosive eruption previously. So this is a big surprise.
Tsunami warnings were issued for other Pacific nations, with damage as far afield as Japan and Peru. So far, there are no reports of deaths or injuries in Tonga, but it has been impossible to gauge the full extent of the destruction due to power outages and damage to the country's sole underwater fibre optic cable.
In lieu of that information, though, we are preparing our Defence Force assets to support any relief effort that may be required.
Australia and New Zealand are both planning to send surveillance planes tomorrow morning, provided the ash cloud has cleared. Until then, both governments are relying on satellite communications from their high commissions for information.
My understanding is that communications within Tonga are to some extent operating. It's the international communications through the cable that was affected that is causing some difficulties.
It's already clear that clean water will be one of the most pressing needs.
The ash cloud has, as you can imagine, caused contamination. That's on top of already a challenging environment in terms of water supply.
The Australian and New Zealand Defence Forces both have more planes and ships on standby.
Our people are ready to deploy. We just need to make sure they're kitted out with exactly what the Tongan people need, and we'll be able to support as much as we can.
As well as immediate aid, Tonga will need long-term help to repair damage to critical infrastructure. Melissa Clark, ABC News.
The volcanic eruption off Tonga prompted tsunami alert warnings throughout the Pacific, including along the east coast of Australia. Some residents on Norfolk and Lord Howe Islands had to move to higher ground, and beaches were closed due to a dangerous undercurrent.
Powerful waves smashing Gold Coast beaches. Underwater, a deceptive surge had authorities on edge.
Very strong rip, very strong sweeps to the south, and the potential for danger is extreme.
A tsunami marine alert was issued for the east coast of Australia as the force of the volcanic eruption near Tonga was felt across the Pacific.
It travelled thousands of kilometres to impact not just the east coast of Australia, but many nations.
Swimmers were cautioned out of the water, with New South Wales beaches closed for the day. On Norfolk Island, residents reported strange noises about 7 o'clock last night.
Some people were describing it as, a garage door being shut below their house, or, like I mentioned before, what might have been some sort of underwater cave collapsing or something like that.
Soon, a tsunami land alert was issued and low-lying residents were urged to move to higher ground.
Apart from what might have seemed like some odd water movement, there's certainly not been any damage sustained here on island, which has been good.
About 50 people were evacuated overnight on Lord Howe Island.
And they're not allowed to go back into those areas until it's declared safe by the Bureau again.
Warnings were downgraded or cancelled throughout the day, with some Queensland beaches cautiously reopening.
Still very, very messy and very, very dangerous out there outside of the flags.
In Sydney, the Tongan community is awaiting news from loved ones.
I've been trying to get in touch with my younger brother in one of the outer islands, Ha'apai. but I couldn't manage to, I'm a little bit worried what's happening.
So far we haven't been able to contact our family at all.
An anxious wait as authorities hope to learn more in the coming hours. Ashley Stevenson, ABC News.